Good evening, everyone. I'm Bill Plunkett, Director of Guidance here at Staples, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our College Kickoff Night. So we've never had our students here before, and I just want to say that we're really excited about having you guys here, and we care a lot about you and invested in making sure that the next year and a half at Staples is as good as it possibly could be for you, and that we do all we can to make sure that you're prepared for whatever it is that comes next after Staples. We wanted you and your parents to hear the same information so that you can use what you learned tonight as a common starting point for conversations at home. We're fortunate that we have a lot of experience here on our staff, and having worked with as many families as we have over the years, we know how essential it is for students and their families to have an open, trusting, and respectful conversation and dialogue at home. Students, you're going to hear us emphasize throughout tonight and in the next few months how this really is your process, and we're here to support you in that. At the same time, it's important for you to know that there are adults in your life to turn to and who can provide invaluable perspective and help along the way. So as you listen to the presentation, remember that we're speaking in rather general terms tonight, and that each student's individual situation and post-high school planning process is completely unique. You may be in a different place right now from the family that's next to you and move at a different pace, and that's 100% okay. If you focus on what is best for you, you're going to find that things have a way of working out. We'll soon be starting to meet with each junior and their family individually to discuss where you are in thinking about your future, what's important to you, and what you can do to get where you want to be. Ultimately, what we want is for you to find the right fit for after Staples, academically, but also personally and financially, and you'll hear that emphasized tonight. You received some materials at the door, including our presentation notes and a version of our post-high school planning guide focused specifically on what you need to know right now as juniors. If it's helpful to go back and see again, we're filming this program and we'll email out a link. A big thanks to Mr. Jim Honeycutt, who some of you may have had as freshmen back in the day, who's doing the filming for tonight's program. You'll now hear from each of the school counselors regarding aspects of the college search and application process. And then afterwards, we'll move into breakout sessions where you can ask questions of your individual school counselor. Thanks for being here, and we hope that you find tonight's information helpful.
Hi, good evening. My name is Christine Tallarico. The Westport Public Schools Strategic Goal Plan for 2017 to 2020 includes creating approaches that honor all pathways to success, not just four-year college. By doing this, the district will continue to serve the best interests of all students and families of Westport. According to Dr. Randall Hansen, a former college professor and founder of Quintessential Careers, the pressure and expectations from family members for students to complete a college education is strong, and while that is good for some students, others might be better off pursuing options other than college. The reality, folks, is that college is not for everyone, nor is it truly needed for everyone, and forcing teens to attend college only to have them not do so well is doing a disservice to them. A generation or two ago, high school graduates rarely went to college, yet somehow through the years, college has become a rite of passage for teens to pass into adulthood and a good career. Teens do not need to attend college to become adults, and they certainly do not need it to land a good career. Education is critical, college is not. There are numerous careers in healthcare, technology, operations, transportation, and the building trades that do not require a four-year degree. And as you advance in these careers, there's nothing stopping you from pursuing a college degree later in life when it better suits you. Some people are just not ready for college until later in life. So what if you're not college-bound right after high school? What are some of your alternatives? Learn a trade through an apprenticeship. For example, one high school graduate worked for a pool construction company for several years, learning every aspect of the business before earning her swimming pool contractor's license and starting her own business. Get a job. Nothing helps more with a transition to adulthood than holding down a full-time job. Volunteer. While you're trying to find your place in the world, why not spend some time making a difference? Travel. If all you can think about is getting out of town and exploring some other part of the world, then traveling may be for you. It's a great way to experience other cultures and learn about yourself. Attend community college or vocational school is a great way to ease into college and explore about what you want to do in life by taking one or more classes at a local community college or technical school. Classes are cheaper, and many students work at least part-time while attending. Join the military. While not always a popular choice, joining the military can be a great way to learn more about yourself, serve your country, and earn money toward a future college education. There are plenty of resources to support students who wish to investigate and/or pursue any of these options. Every year we have students who pursue each of these options, but the majority of our Staples High School graduates do attend four-year college. Here are just a few statistics from our most recent classes on the slide behind me.
Hi everyone, my name is Trish Howells, one of the school counselors. Nice to see you all this evening. So I'm going to be talking about what goes into developing your initial college list. While many families and students want to first focus on selectivity, possibly ranking, and a name of a college, there are many other factors that go into developing a college list that's the right fit for you academically and socially. So you'll hear all of your counselors wanting you to focus on other options or other facets than just the rank of a school or the college's name. We encourage you to think about the size of a school. So do you imagine yourself sitting in a classroom this size and just listening to a lecture? Or do you want something in a smaller classroom, more like the one you have in high school, or maybe in between, where you get to know your college professor, get to know your students sitting next to you? Think about location. Do you want to be able to drive a couple of hours and get home for a short weekend? Or do you want to be across the country and have to fly home, maybe possibly once a year? And also, if you're going to consider being somewhere in Arizona or California, are you going to be able to have to come up with the cost to fly to and from college and home? Do you prefer a city or a small town? So do you want a sprawling campus throughout a few city blocks, or do you want the traditional campus setting where your campus is contained to a general area? One of the most important factors is to consider cost. This is an important time for you to have with your family an open conversation about the cost of college. It's important to do this now before you get attached to a list of colleges that may not be affordable in the long run. And if you do come away with college loans, what is the threshold that you're willing to commit yourself to when you do leave college? Because for 10 to 20 years after college, you'll be committed to a student loan. Think about majors, sports, and any specific program that you're interested in while you're at college. Do you want a big, high-spirited game school, D1 school, or do you want a smaller conservative campus, quieter? So to start, what we encourage students to do is to visit some local colleges in the area. So visit Fairfield University, take a ride to UConn, take a visit to NYU. These are three very different campuses where you can get a feel for if you want a large school, a school in a suburban setting, or a school in a city setting. These may not be schools that you're going to apply to, but you're just going there to get the feel of what you like and don't like. Building a list of colleges is much further than a name and rank. Of these schools you research, one of them will be your home away from home for 4 years. So it's so important to find schools that fit who you are academically and socially, where you're going to learn best. As we build this list, we encourage you to have what we call a balanced list. This means you will ultimately have a nice combination of reach, target, and likely schools. When you begin, you can easily have 15 to 20 schools on your list. These are schools that you're going to visit and do some research on. Our goal for you is to come back in the fall as seniors with a list of 8 to 10 schools that you are sure you're going to apply to. Of these schools, we recommend a couple reach schools, 1 or 2 reach schools, 1 or 2 likely schools, and then about 6 target schools. The most important thing to keep in mind is that of these 8 to 10 schools you apply to, you know and feel that you would want to go to this school if you are admitted. Don't start with investing all of your energy into reach schools and then later adding a few likely schools without much thought. We urge you to put equal thought and effort into campus visits, contact with schools, research, and finally, later on, the application for all of the schools on your list. This is an exciting time for you, and we are looking forward to helping you get started building a well-balanced list of schools that are the right fit for you.
Good evening. I'm Kim Curran, and I'm going to discuss Naviance tonight. Naviance is a web-based program that is an extremely useful tool to help you make informed decisions about colleges. It incorporates historical and statistical data specifically about Staples students so that when you're looking at the admissions statistics, it's more relevant to your child. We're going to show you an example of a scattergram in a moment, and that will show you a graph where it shows where your student is on the graph. This is helpful when you're creating that range of lists that Mrs. Howells talked about, reaches, targets, and likely schools. Naviance also has a college search option, which we showed all of your kids in their PE classes, and it helps them pick certain criteria, and then it generates a list for them, and from there they can do research and look at the colleges and save it and have different searches for different things that they want to look for. Parents can also do a training right on the Naviance website. If you didn't make it to the training that Mr. Brown did here at the high school, it's really easy to go online and just do it yourself. And students and parents do share an account on Naviance, so you have the same username and password. If your child lost it or doesn't remember it, we can reset it for them, but you do share an account with your child. The Scattergram, which I talked about, is a visual tool, and it's used to show trends in the application acceptances and rejections. Use this to help guide your child in choosing appropriate schools, meaning schools that they are likely to get into. The Scattergram will show 3 years worth of Staples school admission data using the weighted academic GPA, and it includes the current PSAT score until other scores are available. So that should be in there now. We highly recommend using this tool to give your child a realistic view of admissions. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Hammer. As you can see from this pretty dense slide behind me, college admissions offices take into consideration many components as they evaluate applicants. I'll just give you a brief overview now because we'll be talking about many of them later in more depth later in tonight's program. Students, arguably the most important of these many factors is your curriculum. These are the courses that you've been taking, the difficulty of those courses, and how well you've done in them since your freshman year. Taken all together, this is a college's best indicator of your ability to do college-level work and the best predictor of your future academic success. After that, most of the rest of these are specific components of the application process itself. The majority of colleges still want to see standardized test scores, so virtually all of our students will take the SAT and/or the ACT. And keep in mind that colleges do not favor one of these tests over the other. Colleges will also want to see your writing, so they will almost always require a personal narrative. This is a chance for them to get to know more about you as a person and an opportunity for you to have your own voice come through. They may also ask for smaller supplemental essays. Some of these are geared towards how well you actually know this school that you're applying to. And they may also ask for a writing sample, maybe in the form of a graded paper. Colleges will also look at the other things that you do outside of your academics. This could be your involvement in the arts, sports, clubs, paid employment, or volunteer commitments. But please know that you don't need to do all of those things. There aren't enough hours in the day, so please focus on the activities that you truly enjoy and that are the most meaningful for you. Colleges read recommendation letters written by your counselor and typically by one or two of your academic teachers. Colleges also do their best to get a sense of how interested you actually are in their school, and therefore how likely you would be to attend if they admit you. So you can demonstrate your interest by visiting campuses, by interviewing there if that's an option, and by meeting with college representatives in our College and Career Center in the fall when they visit us. We also understand that colleges are now even keeping track of whether or not students click on the links embedded in the promotional emails they send, so they really are tracking how much you care about them. Finally, there will always be factors that are out of your control. It's widely agreed upon that diverse learning communities foster broader perspectives, deeper understanding, empathy, cooperation. So diversity of all kinds, that would be geographic, gender, ethnic, may also come into play. Higher education, also, as we know, is a business, and most universities need to watch their bottom line. So because of this, many colleges will also need to take into account a student's ability to pay. And finally, there may be institutional priorities that we will know nothing at all about. The school may be looking for students for a brand new dance program, or an under-enrolled anthropology major, or maybe their only bassoon player is graduating. These kinds of needs vary from school to school, from year to year, so it's really difficult to try to game the system this way, and it's really rarely worth the effort of even trying. This slide is probably more of a refresher for you. A Staples High School transcript shows two different GPAs. The academic GPA reflects the cumulative weighted grade point average for all academic classes, so English, social studies, math, science, and world language classes. The overall GPA includes academic subjects plus physical education, art classes, and other elective courses as well, and it is not weighted. GPAs are recalculated at the end of each semester only, and sometimes families have some confusion around why the GPA that's shown on the report card doesn't match the one that you see on your transcript. This is because the report card shows the overall GPA for that quarter only, and it's not cumulative. And then just finally, a little side note about GPAs. It's really not uncommon here for students and families to place too much importance on the exact number. There is no magic GPA even for any given school, and colleges may even recalculate your Staples GPA using a different scale, a different weighting system, in an effort to compare applicants from a wide range of other high schools who have also got differing GPA scales. So just keep that in mind. So here we are, not even halfway through junior year, and we're about to start planning for your senior year. Next year's course catalog will be online shortly, and I encourage you to read through it. There are so many great new electives and academic courses offered for next year, and as a senior, you may actually have a little bit more wiggle room in your schedule to be able to take advantage of these opportunities. Your teachers are beginning to input their course recommendations for you now, and will begin meeting with you one-on-one to create your senior schedule starting early next month. Your counselor will work with you to make sure that you're on track to fulfill all of your graduation requirements and to help you choose a schedule that's appropriately challenging for you and takes into account your own goals and interests, and at the same time allows you to enjoy everything else that's going on in your world, like having some time to relax with your friends and family and get a good night's sleep more often than not. Keep in mind that next fall, when your transcript is sent to the colleges you're applying to, it will list your classes and final grades through junior year, as well as the courses that you have in progress during senior year. So once the transcript is sent, your schedule can't be changed. Okay.
Good evening. My name is PJ Wishenko, and I'm going to talk to you tonight about standardized tests. So a piece of many applications is a standardized test, so it is something that your students may become familiar with along the way. Some of the colleges are going to they'll want one or the other. It doesn't matter which one you take, an SAT or an ACT, and I'm going to talk to you about the differences between the two in a little bit. So it's really important just to see, check the college's websites as you get further along with the college search process. You want to get more familiar with a school. Is this something they need to complete an application? Because there's over 300 colleges that don't require testing. They use other components of the application to make their decisions. And those lists of schools are on that website listed above, fairtest.org. Again, there's over 300 schools on there, some very recognizable schools, some great options that some of our students definitely consider. So if testing is something that doesn't sit well or doesn't really help a student's application, you can do a test optional route and not have that be a part of the application review process. We do not print test scores on our transcript, so when your students go to register for an SAT or an ACT, that's where they're going to have to go in senior year to send their test scores out. So there's a little process they follow, send test scores, and they send directly to the colleges from the websites. That's how the colleges get official test scores. That's the only way they take the scores as a credible piece of data for the review process if they need it. But when your students are taking the SAT or the ACT, they definitely should use their full legal name. Same thing with the applications, the same name that should be on their transcripts. That's how everything is going to get matched up. If there's little differences along the way, the colleges, they'll create different files, they'll mismatch pieces of the application, put materials and documents in different places, and then applications are complete and the process gets delayed. So it's important that everything matches up and the full legal name is on there. Some of the two tests over the past couple of years, they've gotten a little similar over the years. They've been more curriculum-based, so material that your students are learning in the classroom is material that they're going to see on this test. It's curriculum-based. There's no penalty for wrong answers, so it's encouraged that students answer all questions no matter what. If they're running out of time, it does benefit them to guess rather than leave a blank. Testing is optional on both as well, but we do encourage students maybe for at least one sitting, if they have to take the test, take it with writing just so they have it as a just in case, because some colleges will still want to see that. Some of the differences between the two, SAT is a little bit longer of a test, ACT a little shorter. Some of the sections for ACT, it's a little quicker of an exam. You might have 30 minutes for 30 questions. For SAT, you might have 40 minutes for 30 questions. There's some built-in extra time. The math is a little more advanced on the ACT. There's a science on the ACT as well. So it's important to kind of get an idea of what does this test look like. So if they haven't taken any practice exams like a PSAT, they haven't seen anything online, it's good to actually go on the colleges or the testing websites to actually see, do they have sample questions, get familiar with it, find out which one the students feel most comfortable with, and then that's one you maybe want to go forward with for a second or maybe third time if you want to get your top score. And then there's another test out there. It's called SAT Subject Test. This is something that it's only required by 8 schools in the whole country. Some might highly recommend, but for a complete application, there's 8 schools that have this as a required piece of the application process. So it's for a very limited amount of schools that want it. There are some schools that if you're applying to a certain major, they may ask for that. So maybe if you want to be an engineer or you're applying to the liberal arts program or something that it's a very selective program, they need something else to kind of be within the application to help them with their review and their selection, they might want that extra component. So again, you go on the college's websites, see if that's something that is required. If it is, it's going to take some additional planning because you can't take an SAT subject test and an SAT reasoning test on the same day. They're offered at the same time. So when you go to register, you're registering for one or the other. You could take up to 3 subject tests in one sitting. There's a list over here that has some of the examples, and on page 18 of the College Kickoff handout that we gave you, there's a list of the Staples equivalent courses that match up well with these subject tests. So your students might be taking some of these classes now that might prepare them for this subject test if it's required. They don't need to do it. If they're in these classes and the colleges don't want it, they don't have to sit for this test. But if they do sit for it, it's best to do it in the late spring, wait for the class to get close to finishing. That way they've seen all the material, they're probably most comfortable with what's been being presented. They're probably getting ready for maybe finals as well, so everything's gonna be a little fresh for test taking. So that would be the best time to take it versus in the early fall or the middle of the school year when, again, they maybe haven't seen all the material just yet. So, and if you're unsure if you should be taking the test as a student, have a conversation with your teacher, have a conversation with your counselor, so that way we can give you some feedback or advice if this is a good idea to do or not. And finally, some of the test dates. So listed here is all the remaining test dates for the rest of your junior year and then the fall of senior year as well. So you can see there's a lot of options to actually sit for an exam if you need to sit for it. But something to keep in mind, during different parts of the school year, you may have busier times in your school day or after school programs. If you're doing spring sports, and that's just a very busy time for you because you're practicing, you're traveling, and you're just kind of getting ready for big games and whatnot, maybe taking an SAT or an ACT in the late spring isn't a good idea because you're not able to fully focus on an exam. So maybe you look at, there's a March, April dates for some of these tests. A lot of our seniors will come back in the early fall and take another one of these tests as like a one more shot, see how I do. So it's okay to save that one last test for the early fall. So again, have conversations with your parents, really kind of look at your planner, look at what's going to be in front of you, what's going to be happening at certain times of the year to see, is this something I'm ready to sit down and take? And again, we're always there for your students and you to make sure we can give you some feedback and advice to see if this is the right time to take the test. And if it is, then we can help walk you through the process. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leslie Sporet. First, I'll be speaking with you about the college visit. Visiting a college is truly seeing what college is like and if you feel that it could be a good fit. Whenever possible, it's best to take the opportunity to get on the actual campus to get a feel for the student body, the campus setting, environment, and truly your reaction to the college. Most often the visit is when you actually know whether or not you could envision yourself attending that particular college. It's important to realize that there's not just one college that meets the perfect fit. You can have a group of best fit colleges. Parents may help their child by calling ahead to schedule an appointment for a tour and information session. If a college is close in distance, they would really want a student to visit the school. Colleges that are far away, the West Coast, for example, would understand if a visit could not be made because of the distance and traveling involved. Students are allowed 2 pre-planned college visits in junior year and senior year that do not count towards attendance. We encourage families to take advantage of this. We understand that students might be worried about missing a day or 2 of classes. However, they may communicate with their teachers ahead of time, and it truly is valuable to see a college, particularly when they are in session, so that students can get a good read of the campus and really see what the campus is like. February and April school breaks are a great time to visit colleges because they are in session. Most importantly, enjoy the college visit. It's a fun experience and a great taste of the exciting next step in your life. You should use this opportunity to gain as much information as possible by taking pictures, making notes of things that stand out, and asking students who attend the college detailed questions. Often, students attending the college may offer even more valuable information than an info session. Students who are interested in pursuing art, music, film, theater, etc. in college should speak with their individual counselor. Students will most likely complete an application supplement in the process, as well as either audition, create a CD, DVD, electronic file, or present an art portfolio. Each individual college will clearly delineate their requirements and how to present the information on their website or application. Please be sure to check with each individual college. The websites listed on this PowerPoint slide can offer additional detailed information and advice as well. For students who are interested in participating in college athletics, they should speak with their individual counselor and coach. For students interested in Division I or Division II sports, they must register with the NCAA Eligibility Center to be sure that they are academically eligible. Please be assured that our students rarely have an eligibility issue. However, it's important to look at the planning guide for specific courses that have not been certified by the NCAA towards eligibility credit. Division III athletes do not need to register with the Eligibility Center. However, students should visit each college's athletic link on their website. Students can usually find a prospective student-athlete questionnaire or form to be completed on the website athletics link. This usually facilitates communication between you and the college coach. Our guidance website offers valuable information for prospective student college athletes as well. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Victoria Capozzi. So kids, if it's you, folks, if it's your child who currently receives services via special education or has a 504 plan with accommodations, again, we ask that you have a personal conversation with the school counselor, as it is ultimately your family decision whether or not to disclose the student's learning difference, disability challenge, or any other relevant information. Counselors here can guide you accordingly and explain in detail supports at the college level. Make note, however, accommodations received in high school do not automatically transfer to college. Documentation requirements and criteria for determining the eligibility to receive these accommodations and supports at the college level will differ from college to college. The level of supports can also differ from college to college. As you can see on the slide above, there are typically 3 levels of support offered by colleges. If you'd please draw your attention to number 3, this is the level of support that is usually offered to all students at all colleges. On campus tours, you may have already heard or will hear when you start touring colleges. The tour guide mention or show you the peer tutoring center, for instance, the writing centers or labs, the counseling centers, and any other regular sort of supports for all students. These are considered general tutorial services. The others listed on the slide offer 2 more levels of support, usually only available to students who own a 504 plan or an individualized education plan, noting a disability. Students at the college level must self-identify should they wish to pursue these more detailed levels of support and services. The individual conversation I mentioned with the school counselor will help to determine when to self-identify, whether it's before or during the application process or once accepted to the college. If this applies to you, I ask that you read page 23 in tonight's handout, as well as visit the guidance website for more detailed information.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christina Banks, and I'm going to be talking about teacher recommendations. Most colleges require teacher recommendations, but not all of them. You'll soon notice, if you haven't realized already, that colleges have varying requirements. So the only real way to know what they're looking for is to check each college's website for their specific requirements. However, typically, most colleges do look for 1 or 2 teacher letters from academic teachers. So we recommend that all juniors ask in the spring 2 teachers if they'd be willing to write them a letter of recommendation for college. So that way, no matter what the number is that the college requires, they'll be covered. The letter is specific to the student in that particular class, so the teacher will be writing about the performance in their class. We recommend students ask teachers from junior year. That way they're in more advanced classes and the information is more recent to when they're going to be applying to colleges. It's best to ask teachers that know you well, so it doesn't have to be in a class where you received an A. It could be a class where maybe you met with the teacher outside of the classroom for extra help sessions consistently, and you worked really hard to get that B or maybe even that C in the class. Colleges would like to know about that. Maybe it's a class where you were really interactive and you helped other peers in your class with the work. They love to hear about that. Or maybe it's a class where you really loved and were passionate about the material and you went above and beyond the requirements and did like independent research. So all those type of things are things that colleges would love to hear about from your teachers. You still have plenty of time, so now I'm talking to the students out there. You still have plenty of time to build those relationships with your teachers and open the doors for them to get to know you better. Counselors also write letters of recommendation for each one of their students that are applying to colleges. We're looking at the big picture. So we're looking at students academically and as a person. We look beyond just the GPA and test scores. When we write our letter, this is a time that we're really able to advocate for our students, and we're able to really focus on their strengths, their growth and development throughout high school, maybe any anomalies in grades that we could explain, any special circumstances, obstacles that maybe you overcame, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the type of things that we're looking at and writing about in your letters. There's some forms for the student. There's a form for the students to complete, and there's also a form for the parent guardian to complete. There's the students complete the student activity sheet, and parent guardians will complete the parent guardian sheet. That will go to the counselor, and that gives us more information about the student from the student perspective and from the parent perspective, because we have our own perspectives, but it's good to get information from you guys and how, what the students' experiences were throughout high school from their perspective. What are their passions? So the more information that we have, the better. There's also a form called the student description form that students can hand out. That's also another way for us to get more information about students to aid our letters. Students can hand those out to a current teacher or a former teacher, as long as it's not someone that you've already asked to write you a letter of recommendation that's going to be sent to the colleges. Or maybe a coach or an employer, club advisor, volunteer coordinator, etc. You'd hand those out to those people, you'd ask them, and then you give them the form in either May or June. And those forms are not sent to the colleges. Counselors would incorporate them in our letter. So, for example, if a student had asked a coach, we get the perspective of the student as an athlete and how they interacted with their team, and we'd be able to quote something that the coach had said. So that way we're kind of giving the colleges the overall picture of the student, but they're not getting several letters from different people. Lastly, I just want to note that all the recommendations are confidential, so they're not shared with students, parents, or counselors. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tom Brown. Application deadlines. So these are the times when the applications are going to be due. I think a lot of our students get the benefit at Staples High School of very lenient deadlines. With the college applications, those deadlines are not lenient. So, there's 3 rounds is the way I see it. The first one is rolling applications. Rolling decision applications, they start in September, and you can submit it anytime from September through March, and as soon as you submit it, they review and give you an answer within a few weeks. The second round is the early round, which has early action, restrictive early action, and early decision. All of these are earlier application deadlines, so October, November, December, and you get an earlier response, January, December, sometime around then. The difference between these, which a lot of people talk about, is early decision and restrictive early action, because these have binding agreements to them. Early decision is the most binding. If you are accepted to a school that you've applied to early decision, you are already committed to attend and enroll in that school. So you have no choices beyond then. You're going, you're in. And it's something that some students do in our school, not most of them, but a lot do, because they find a school that they love more than any other school out there, and they know 100% this is where I want to go. The mistake some of our students make is they think that early decision is a golden ticket. They think it's Willy Wonka's secret way to the factory, and it's not. Yes, it helps a little bit because the school knows that you're going to go if they accept you, but it doesn't mean they're just going to disregard the rest of your application and sign you up. Restrictive early action, on the other hand, is early, but it's some schools only want you to apply to 1 or 2 schools restricted. So they have limitations. So it's very few schools that have it. If you come across one, read the fine print, because it's going to have specific instructions as to what they allow as part of the application process. Early action is just earlier, and that's it. There's no binding agreement, there's no extra strings attached, you're just applying earlier to a school. The last round is regular decision, and that's happening right now. That's January, February through March 1st is probably the last deadline. So that's the regular application pool. That's when most of the students in the country probably apply to schools. At Staples High School, I'd say it's about, I don't know, 20% do regular decision, and most of our students are applying by November 1st, November 15th. Financial aid, becoming a bigger topic every year. So financial aid comes around in a lot of different ways. There's scholarships, there's grants, and loans is one of the biggest ones, and those come from a variety of places. You can get loans from the school itself, you can get loans from the federal government, you can get loans from banks. Probably don't want to do that, it's probably not the best interest rate. But there's a lot of other ways that you can get money to help pay for colleges. This year, we're offering a first-time planning for college workshop or presentation that's going to be on January 30th. So definitely a great thing to do, whether you feel you have financial burden or not. It's a great opportunity we have with somebody coming down to talk about what kind of things to take into consideration when planning your finances for college, not just for the parents in the room, but also for the students. What does it look like to pay out on a college loan after you graduate, and how do you plan for that when you're thinking about the school you're applying to? How much can you afford, and how much are you going to have at the end of your college education to pay off? We also do, in September, another financial aid night that's focused more specifically on the financial aid applications, the CSS profile, and the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. Last, you're thinking about all this information that we're giving you, and you're wondering, how can I possibly remember all of these things? Well, fortunately, we have something at Staples High School called the College and Career Center that is staffed by an individual. This year, we have a new staff member, Teal Stoller. She's a very young, lovely lady, and she has a lot of great information and experience to help with the students, and also the rest of us work in the College and Career Center during lunch waves each day of the week. But that's a great resource for not only colleges, but also for scholarships, if students are looking for jobs, if they're looking for volunteer opportunities. The College and Career Center has all that available to them. Thank you.
My name is Deb Slocum, last in line here. So we just shared with you a tremendous amount of information before you head out into your breakout sessions. So in many ways, I just want to kind of give you a place to put this all socially, emotionally, because that's who we are. We're counselors. And in so many ways, for juniors, I know it feels like your whole education has been leading up to this moment. And for parents, it feels like your children's education has been leading up to this moment in Westport, right? The launching of the college search process. Bum, 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 bum. And whenever you tell, everyone says, what year are you in at Staples? And you say, I'm a junior. They go, oh, you're a junior. Junior year? Oh boy. Oh boy. And I bet when Thanksgiving rolled around, everyone went, junior year? What colleges are you looking at? Did you take your SATs? What'd you get? What are your GPA? I can give you some suggestions on some great colleges. I can tell you where I went. I can tell you where my aunt went. I can tell you where my best friend went. Let me give you a lot of advice. And you were like, I really don't want to talk about it. But everybody wants to hear about what you're doing and where you're going. The joys of being a junior in Westport, Connecticut. You know what? This is the reality. We live in an educated community, and the investment in this process is just unbelievable. You've spent thousands of hours studying in the classroom, with teachers, with tutors, in activities. Some you loved, some not so much. And sometimes some perspective may have been lost. You were busy curating yourself and creating a resume and a high school experience. And at sometimes, maybe some of the joy in the experience was lost, all for this moment in time. That makes us a little sad in the guidance department, but it's a reality right now, and I just want to acknowledge it. And I want to talk about helping you to develop a healthy, or as healthy as we can get, mindset in this current environment. And when I talk about the current environment, what am I talking about? Let's acknowledge some reality, what I just said. Everyone in Fairfield County is obsessed with college admissions. Nowhere else in the country do I see so many people wearing college paraphernalia. It's baseball caps, it's sweatshirts, it's t-shirts, it's jackets. It's everywhere. It's unbelievable. I see preschoolers wearing college paraphernalia. So it's an obsession that starts with clothing. And the fascination is with a really tiny percentage of the 2,500 colleges there are in this country. Did you know that? 2,500? Add to that the blogs, articles, and magazines that are focused on this same tiny percentage. And I bet a lot of the kids out there think it's almost impossible to get into college nowadays, right? It's really, really, really hard to get into college. No, it's not. No. The average acceptance rate at college in the United States right now is 67%. And 80% of those 2,500 colleges accept more than 50% of the kids. So all the kids I have applying from Staples High School this year have already all gotten into one school. And you saw the statistics earlier. Kids at Staples, 95% of them are accepted at their first or second choice schools. So, and they all go off to attend 170 different schools. So why is everyone so stressed? Because they're fixated on the same tiny set of schools with low acceptance rates. So you have a choice. You can decide, I'm going to fixate on that tiny set of schools with the low acceptance rates. Okay, you can do that, but then you're buying yourself the stress that goes with it. Okay, and when you buy that stress, you need to know there is no secret formula. If there was, there wouldn't be so many different books and college consultants and people charging $1,500, $25,000, $30,000 and kids still not getting in. There would be one formula and everybody would know it. But there isn't. So you're going to buy the not knowing and living with it. For everybody else, there's really no reason to be intimidated by this process. Okay? If you're willing to be organized, pay attention to deadlines, work with the guidance department, read what we publish, and work closely with your counselor, it really isn't that bad. Okay? But I'm not going to underestimate the pull of the chatter in this community. So I'm going to ask you to consider something. That you get together as a family and collaborate on an approach to this process where the bottom line is that you center the college search process on finding the right fit for you. Financial, academic, and personal, without constant reference to that college's ranking in U.S. News and World Report. Don't even get me started on those ridiculous statistics. There's no validity. Or that college's perceived prestige level in Westport. This might mean limiting your exposure to certain people in your life, because some people just can't drop the subject. They love it. And it might mean saying to your closest friends, when we're together, I just want a break. I don't want to talk about it. Can you imagine? It's junior and senior year and you talk about something else other than college for the next year and a half? It might actually be fun. And we are really deeply invested in this for you. We don't mind talking with our kids and them coming in and talking to us about something else. If you work hard and plan accordingly, this confusing and sometimes unfair process will end up fine. It can actually be an adventure. Students can do their research, keep an open mind, and think deeply about what they want out of the college experience, and the admission results end up being mostly positive. So I'll go back to that mindset. There's hurdles to jump over. The standardized tests aren't that much fun. You have to take the midterms, the essays have to be written, but you can spread them out and treat them just like hurdles and jump over them one at a time. And in between, there should be time with friends, visits to college a student might be excited about, and the all-important downtime. It's not a race. It's not even a marathon. The college search and admissions process should be a thoughtful, mindful walk with time to reflect, consider and plan. For the first time in your life, you have a choice about where you get to go to school and learn. What a beautiful thing to be grateful for. And you should end up with a selection of realistic options that appeal to you. Go forth and enjoy. Thank you.
So at this point, we're going to move to various classrooms and spaces around the building where you'll be with your school counselor for a question and answer session. So classroom assignments are posted up above here and in the packet that you received at the door. On behalf of the Staples Guidance Department, thank you so much for coming. We wish you students the absolute best in this process and look forward to talking with you more and responding to your questions in our individual breakout sessions.